moved to New York City. And I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year.
That's the crazy thing, right?
No, not really. I
Come
mean,
on.
but hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you
I
seeing?
went there to.
The courtroom spotlight is about to shift onto one of the most unexpected and compelling figures in this case. Usher, yes, the same Usher, who sang his way into millions of hearts with his smooth vocals and timeless hits, is now stepping into a much darker, far more harrowing narrative. The details emerging about his time under Diddy's wing as a young, impressionable talent are nothing short of chilling what started as a mentorship is now unraveled into a story laced with whispers of manipulation, boundary pushing, and an industry culture that seemed designed to blur the line between personal and professional relationship.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't say that. What I did say is that there were very curious things taking place, and I didn't necessarily understand.
Usher's connection to Diddy began when he was just a teenager sent to live with the music mogul in New York as part of so-called training camp. On the surface, it was a career-making opportunity, a golden ticket to the upper echelons of the industry. But beneath that glittering promise lay something far more complicated. Usher himself has been candid in past interviews describing his time with Diddy as wild and full of experiences he didn't fully understand at the time. Imagine being that young, thrust into an environment where the rules seem to evaporate the moment you step through the door. The stories he's told of lavish parties, unfiltered access to a celebrity lifestyle, and moments that raise more questions than answers are enough to make anyone wonder what really went on behind closed doors.
Dad, now, would you ever send your kid to Puffy camp?
But now, as Usher prepares to testify, the stakes couldn't be higher. His testimony isn't just about recounting memories or providing context. It's about pulling back the curtain on an environment that might have been carefully crafted to disorient, overwhelm, and control. Usher has previously alluded to seeing things he wasn't prepared for, moments that seem to defy logic or decency. And while he's often chose his words carefully, there's an undeniable weight to the way he describes those formative years when he says he witnessed curious things. It's hard not to read between the lines. What exactly did he see, and how did those experiences shape the man and the star he became?
My brother right here from day one, we used to wake up and, pause, but like that's how.
What's even more striking is how Usher's presence in this trial could shift the narrative entirely. Unlike some of the other witnesses, he's a household name, someone whose influence and reach extend far beyond the courtroom. He's not just another voice in the crowd. He's a megastar with a platform and a legacy that makes his testimony all the more potent and all the more dangerous for Diddy. If Usher corroborates the allegations against him or adds new layers to the story, it could be a devastating blow to Diddy's already crumbling defense. The very idea of someone as prominent as Usher taking a stand against him sends a powerful message. This isn't just a legal battle, it's a cultural reckoning.
Back in the days when he was like 10 and I was a little bit older, his older brother, we used to fight over the frosted flakes. You know what I'm saying? Before pause was in.
And then there's the emotional dimension of it all. Usher has described Diddy as a big brother, someone who played a pivotal role in shaping his career. The betrayal he must feel if the allegations prove true is almost unimaginable. To go from looking up to someone as a mentor to standing opposite them in court is a journey that's as heartbreaking as it is compelling. And it raises questions not just about Diddy's actions, but about the entire ecosystem that allowed this dynamic to flourish. How many others were complicit? How many turned a blind eye? And how many young talents like Usher were swept up in the lure of success only to find themselves in situations they couldn't control?
Hey, the Usher part, that's a touchy situation.
The emotional toll on Usher is evident even in his past statements. He's spoken about how those early experiences left a lasting impact, shaping not just his career, but his worldview. There's a certain vulnerability in the way he reflects on that time, a sense that he's still grappling with what it all meant. And now, as he prepares to relive those memories in front of a jury, the weight of it all must feel almost unbearable. But Cher isn't just any witness. He's someone who knows how to command a stage. Someone who understands the power of his words and the influence of his actions. His testimony could very well become the turning point, in this case a moment that defines not just the trial, but the broader conversation about accountability and power in the entertainment industry.
He got on Shay Shay and he mentioned how great and how good Puff taught him and everything.
What makes this even more intriguing is the ripple effect Usher's involvement could have. His testimony won't just be about what he experienced, it'll be about what those experiences represent in an industry that thrives on secrecy and image. Control his decision to speak out is a bold act of defiance. It's a statement that no one, not even someone as powerful as Diddy, is untouchable, and it sets the stage for others to come forward to share their own stories and demand justice. The implications are enormous, not just for the trial, but for the industry as a whole. If someone like Usher can stand up and say, "This happened to me," it opens the door for countless others to do the same. But let's not forget the risks involved. Usher's decision to testify isn't without its challenges. The scrutiny he'll face both in and out of the courtroom will be intense. Every word he says will be dissected, every detail analyzed. And given Diddy's track record of aggressive legal tactics, it's likely that Usher will find himself under fire, his credibility questioned, and his motive scrutinized. It's a high-stakes gamble, one that could either solidify his legacy as a truth teller or leave him vulnerable to backlash. But if there's one thing we know about Usher, it's that he's not afraid to take risks. He's built his career on pushing boundaries, on stepping into uncharted territory. And this trial is no different.
I hate to say that. I hate to say that because I really like Justin Bieber. I feel bad for Justin Bieber.
As the trial date looms closer, the anticipation around Usher's testimony is palpable. What will he reveal? How will it shape the narrative? And most importantly, what impact will it have on the case and on the industry at large? The answers to these questions remain to be seen. But one thing is certain: Usher's involvement has elevated this trial from a legal battle to a cultural moment. It's no longer just about Diddy, it's about the systems and structures that allowed someone like him to wield so much power for so long. And as Usher prepares to take the stand, the world will be watching, waiting for the moment that could change everything.
Yeah, Justin Bieber has been getting this out in different ways. You know, you could see it in his music and just what he's been trying.
And while Usher prepares to take the stand, the chaos unfolding behind the scenes of Diddy's defense is nothing short of a complete meltdown, a house of cards. He's built one that's been propped up by money, influence, and a carefully curated image is collapsing in real time with every legal maneuver and courtroom decision signaling just how bad things really are for him. Let's get one thing straight. This isn't just a trial, this is a battle for survival. Diddy's defense team is scrambling, clawing at any shred of leverage they might still have, but every move they make seems to push them closer to the edge of the cliff. Take, for instance, the so-called mental capacity argument. His lawyers have been pushing in a desperate attempt to shield him from responsibility. Diddy's legal team has leaned heavily into claims that he wasn't in a fit state of mind during the alleged incidents. They've even lined up a psychiatrist ready to testify that his cognitive abilities were impaired. But let's be real, how many jurors are going to buy that the prosecution isn't playing games here? They've already filed to block that testimony, calling it a blatant attempt to dodge accountability. And they're not wrong, it reeks of desperation, a last-ditch effort to deflect attention from the mountains of evidence piling up against him. Speaking of evidence, let's talk about the tapes. Yes, those tapes, the so-called freak-off tapes that have been the subject of countless headlines and the stuff of nightmares for Diddy's defense team. These aren't just random pieces of evidence. They're potentially explosive recordings that could blow this case wide open. The tapes reportedly contain footage from private events meticulously planned and orchestrated by Diddy's inner circle, and they're said to reveal a side of him that's completely at odds with the polished public persona. He spent decades cultivating. The defense has thrown everything they have at trying to suppress these tapes, arguing that they were obtained illegally, that they've been tampered with, that they're inadmissible for one reason or another. But the judge isn't having it. Every motion to suppress has been denied one after another, leaving the defense team with fewer and fewer options. And the kicker, these tapes are going to be played in court in front of the jury, in front of the world.
No, I'm not surprised by the ruling because, as she cited in her order, there are very serious allegations about the danger that he potentially poses to other witnesses and the public at large. There are allegations that he has, been violent with others. He's also attempted to allegedly intimidate other witnesses and still contact witnesses while incarcerated.
Then there's the Cassie video, another devastating piece of evidence that could seal Diddy's fate. His lawyers have fought tooth and nail to keep it out of the trial, claiming it's been edited to paint him in the worst possible light. They've gone so far as to accuse media outlets of manipulating the footage, alleging that the original version, if it even still exists, would somehow exonerate him. But here's the thing, those arguments are falling flat. The judge has already ruled that the video is admissible and the prosecution is ready to use it as a key part of their case, it's hard to overstate how damning this footage could be. It shows Diddy in a moment of raw, unfiltered aggression. And while his lawyers might argue about context or intent, the visuals speak for themselves. This isn't just about what happened in that video. It's about what it represents as a glimpse into a pattern of behavior that's impossible to ignore. What makes Cassie's role even more fascinating is the timing of her lawsuit. According to insiders, the complaint wasn't just a standalone act of courage. It was also a strategic strike. Multiple sources have suggested that the federal investigation into Diddy was already gaining traction when Cassie's lawyers filed her case, effectively forcing the court public opinion to catch up to what law enforcement had been piecing together for months. It's no coincidence that Cassie's allegations tied directly into many of the claims that prosecutors are now using to build their criminal case. From the alleged patterns of coercion to the meticulously organized events described in her lawsuit, her story served as a critical puzzle piece that allowed investigators to connect the dots. Without her going public, it's hard to imagine a case reaching the level of scrutiny it is now.
Sides in the Sean Diddy Combs case have until today to give answers for how the music mogul has been communicating from jail. Combs appearing in court last Friday seeking bail while he awaits trial. He's been held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn since September.
And yet the settlement of her lawsuit raised just as many eyebrows as it did awareness. The speed with which it was resolved was almost unheard of for a case of this magnitude, leading to widespread speculation about what might have been agreed upon behind closed doors. Was it purely a financial arrangement, or were there other conditions, such as non-disclosure clauses, that limited what Cassie could say publicly? And if so, how did those conditions intersect with her decision to testify in the criminal trial? These unanswered questions have only fueled the media frenzy around her involvement, with some critics accusing her of using the settlement to cash out, while others see her as a trailblazer for speaking up at all. Either way, her actions have undeniably shifted the narrative, turning what might have been dismissed as tabloid gossip into a groundbreaking legal and cultural moment.
This is video of Diddy's family arriving to court for last Friday's hearing. Prosecutors arguing that he misused prison systems in an attempt to tamper with potential witnesses. And they say they have proof Diddy used other inmates' phone cards or used three-way calls with friends to contact associates that prosecutors consider to be.
Adding even more attention to the courtroom drama is the fact that Cassie's past relationship with Diddy is now being dissected in excruciating detail. Every public appearance, every statement, every photo from their time together is being poured over for clues. Diddy's defense team has reportedly combed through years of her social media posts, interviews, and even private correspondence in an effort to undermine her credibility. They've hinted at the idea that her continued association with him after the alleged incidents weakens her claims, a classic tactic designed to sow doubt in the minds of jurors. But Cassie supporters argue that these attacks only highlight the imbalance of power that defined their relationship from the start. After all, how do you walk away from someone who holds all the cards professionally, personally, and financially? It's that dynamic more than anything that makes her testimony so crucial to understanding the broader implications of this case.
It's denying these claims and is pushing for his release under strict conditions, including a $50 million bond and 24/7 monitoring at a secured Manhattan apartment. There will be a hearing today where both sides will have a chance to clarify exactly how Combs has been connecting with the world outside his.
And as if the legal bows weren't enough, Diddy's defense team is crumbling from the inside. In the past few months, multiple attorneys have withdrawn from the case, some citing vague ethical concerns, others remaining tight-lipped about their reasons. Even his longtime legal representatives, a high-powered firm that stood by him for over 2 decades, have dropped him as a client. Think about that. For a second, this is a firm that's represented some of the biggest names in the industry, a firm with a reputation for loyalty and discretion. And even they don't want anything to do with him anymore. If that doesn't speak volumes, what does? But let's not forget the star witnesses who are preparing to take the stand. Cassie, Ashton Kutcher, even Usher. These aren't your average witnesses. These are high-profile figures with nothing to gain and everything to lose by coming forward. And yet they're doing it anyway. The prosecution has made it clear that their testimonies will be central to the case, painting a picture of a man who uses power and influence to control those around him. And while Diddy's lawyers will undoubtedly try to discredit them, digging into their past, questioning their motives, it's hard to imagine a jury looking at these witnesses and dismissing their stories outright, especially when those stories are backed up by hard evidence.
It's always going to be a tough argument for the government because obviously Combs voluntarily came to New York. He surrendered his passports to his lawyer. He could have fled after the March raids of his Miami and Los Angeles homes, but he didn't. He has access to 2 private jets. I think it was a tougher argument. I know the government made the argument, but clearly the best argument was the dangerousness and the witness tampering. They had much more evidence.
And then there's the racial angle of card that Diddy's team has been playing with increasing frequency. As the trial approaches, they've argued that this case is nothing more than an attempt to take down a successful black entrepreneur man who's built an empire against all odds in a narrative that might resonate with some. But it's also a risky strategy because at the end of the day, this isn't about race, it's about accountability. It's about whether or not Diddy abused his power, whether or not. He crossed lines that should never be crossed, and no amount of rhetoric can change the facts of case.
From the general population, right? He's with, or was with Sam Bankman-Fried at least, and the irony there is that someone who was granted bail tried to tamper with witnesses, so the judge revoked his bail. So that just goes to show how these federal judges feel about witness tampering before trial.
As jury selection gets underway, the tension is palpable. Both sides know what's at stake here, and neither is backing down. The defense is pulling out all the stops, trying to delay the proceedings, to introduce new motions, to do anything they can to buy more time. But the judge isn't budging. The trial is moving forward, and it's moving fast. And with every new revelation, every new piece of evidence, it becomes clearer just how high the stakes are, not just for Diddy, but for everyone involved, though, here. We are on the brink of what promises to be one of the most explosive trials in recent memory. The evidence is damning, the witnesses are compelling, and the defense is running out of options. But the question remains, how far will Diddy go to protect himself, and what other secrets are waiting to be uncovered? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Because trust us, this story is far from over. See you in the next one.